Hey guys, Dante here back with another little video, and in this one I'll be showcasing you guys the build that I'm currently playing, which is a cast on crit assassin using Crackling Lance of Disintegration and Shock Nova for single target combined with Arc for clear. So you swap Arc for Shock Nova when doing maps, and then you put Shock Nova when you're doing like pinnacle content and uber bosses. Now, before we get into this, how does the build come to be? Well, I didn't think of this build. It was actually posted by somebody on Discord, and it was quite interesting, and that led me to this guy's YouTube channel, Koten. And from what I saw in his channel, he's playing a lot of Cracklands. And the way he built it is very, very interesting, and we're going to get into it. So make sure to go check him out, and let's get into the build so you guys understand exactly how it works. Now, I did make some changes to his build to incorporate my own playstyle and my own crafting and stuff like that. So the concept is the same, but a few minor changes here and there. So how does the build work? So we're using Lancing Steel of Spraying, Awaken Cast on Crit, Crackling Lance of Disintegration, which gives you 10% maximum effect of shock. So you get 10%. You get a total of 20% max effect of shock. So you can get like 70 to 80% effect of shock on pinnacle content. So that is massive. The idea is that we stack a lot of shock effect and a lot of shock on the boss to do damage, basically. We are using, again, a Doryani Merc. I know. Now, Shock Nova basically has a 2 damage hit. Basically, it's got the inner ring and the outer ring. You will see that into the POE. And we're using increased critical damage because we're taking a lot of critical damage, and we're using Empower to beef them up. Now, why I'm using Empower here, because it's getting massive damage boost from the 4th Vow Corruption, which is +1 socketed gems and +2 AoE gems. Shock Nova and Crackling Lance both have AoE tags. So that is why I'm using a Empower here. At the current moment, there are no +3/4 vows on the market. If you want to replicate this build, I suggest going for a +1 socketed gems and using an Empower. It will be better than you just getting a +2. So yeah, that's the basic idea of the build. We use Doryani Merc to lower the enemy resistances to -200%. Ah, he's bugged again. God damn it. There we go. All right. He might have been bugged in the previous boss kills. I don't know. Anyway. We're getting enemies to -200%. We're applying a lot of shock. We're doing a lot of damage. Now, the thing that I didn't think about is using the Forbidden Flesh and Flame combo for Perfect Crime. Perfect Crime is a Saboteur Ascendancy. Let me just boot up POE real quick so I can show you guys. So, is a Saboteur Ascendancy Perfect Crime. Chiver-legged 20 skitter bots, trigger bots, when allocated, 30% less damage with trigger spells. Now, you summon 2 skitter bots which follow you and run towards enemies. Your trigger spells trigger twice, once for each trigger bot's location. Now, basically, that means that every time we trigger cast on crit, we actually trigger it twice, meaning that the normal trigger rate that is maximum like achievable for a normal cast on crit build will be 10.10 triggers, because that is the maximum attack speed for Cyclone, for example, which you can push to get the optimum trigger rate. Now, we are using Lancing Steel to bypass that, and basically we're getting like double, triple, quadruple cast on crits. So this is really, really clever by this guy. So big props to him. I would never thought of this. Now, the more interesting part is that the trigger bots have a minion tag. So pathing into Spiritual Aid, getting Spiritual Aid, increases and reductions to minion damage also affect you, right? And then you're getting Spiritual Command, increases and reductions to minion attack speed also affect you, meaning all the attack and cast speed we get for minions affect us. All the increased damage we get from minions also affect us. But there's more. Because we are scaling the damage of Crackling Lance and Shock Nova, the more damage we get, the more lightning damage we get also applies to the trigger boss's trigger. So it's kind of like double dipping. So we dip into the minion damage, which benefits us. We dip into the lightning damage, which benefits us, which benefits the trigger boss. So it's actually really, really clever. I didn't think about this. So it's quite synergetic once you think about it. All right. So that is basically how the build works. We're getting double triggers from the Saboteur Ascendancy. We're proccing Crackling, stacking Shock, stacking damage. Now you see I got a lot of influence items here. Again, we are using Bound by Destiny, which is, where is it? Bound by Destiny for 20% increased cooldown recovery rate if you have 2 Shaper items equipped. And I'm also dipping into the maximum chaos resistance if 4 hunter items are equipped, because I am using a Zabakwa, Glorious Vanity, which gives me Divine Flesh. All damage taken bypasses Energy Shield. Doesn't really matter because we're using our Energy Shield as a spender. 50% of elemental damage taken is Chaos, plus 5 max Chaos res. So we're already at 80% max Chaos res. Now, we are taking another 20% of fire and lightning damage taken as cold while affected by Purity of Ice. So 20 plus 50, that's 70. So now the final piece of the puzzle is Sublime Vision with Purity of Ice. 30% of fire and lightning damage taken as cold while affected by Purity of Ice. So that means we do not care about fire damage, we do not care about lightning damage, we only care about cold damage, which is mitigated by 90% resistances. Sorry. But wait, there's more. We're using Fourth Vow, which says armor applies to chaos damage taken from hits. So we are mitigating again a lot of chaos damage from hits with armor. Now you might think like I only got 13k armor, but wait, there's more. If I go here and you can see now I got 44,000 armor, which is massive. And that's all because of the Mercenary. I'm stacking Determination Aura Effect, so that's 60, 80 with the Anoint, another 14, that's 94% increased effect of Determination. So I'm getting a boatload of armor just from this. So we're mitigating fire, lightning, chaos, and the only thing that really does a dent in your HP is damage over time. And I'm talking about physical damage over time. That hurts like a truck. Okay, so be wary of that, full disclaimer. All right, now that we got the main idea of how the build works and all the synergies that we get, let's go over the gear. I'm using a Shaper Hunter sword to benefit Bound by Destiny, which has lightning damage in the implicit, attack speed, crit multi, crit chance. The way you craft this is basically you get the base, and then you spam essences for increased attack speed until you get a global crit multi or increased critical strike chance, one or the other. You lock suffixes, reforge crit for a chance to get the other one, and then you lock suffixes again, Veil Chaos for the lightning damage, and then craft hits can be evaded. For my helmet, I am using a Devouring Diadem with corrupted +2 socketed minions and +2 socketed gems, meaning all the gems in the helmet get a lot of levels, especially if they're minions. I have a level 31 race Spectre with minion life, meat shield, and empower. You see the empower is level 6, bumping in my minions to level 31. The Spectres I'm using, we're gonna go into that a bit later. For the shield, It was really hard to try and craft this shield on a non synthesized base because the recover life when you block is really hard to get on an influence base, so I just opted with this. The main thing you want is recover life when you block. I have 75, well, almost 75% chance to block, so max block almost. The main things you want on the shield is life, spell damage, +1 lightning. I did go for the plus chaos, so that's why my chaos resistance is 85. It could have been 86 if I was a bit luckier on the suffix craft, but this is a very difficult shield to craft anyway. Well, kind of difficult, but it's also pretty deterministic, but very expensive. For my amulet, I have a +1 all, +1 lightning, life, global crit strike chance, and the cold damage over time multiplier does not matter. It is just there because I hunter slammed it to benefit Bound by Destiny. You can see I have two anoints on this amulet. You get this from Blight, or you can buy it on the market, on the trade. The main thing is Death Attunement for additional Spectre. And I also got lucky enough to get the Leader of the Pack, which gives me increased reservation efficiency of skills. You don't really need it, but it's easier to have this, for me personally, than to try and get corrupted RMR jewels. For the body armor, I'm using 4th Vow, like I said, with a +3. If you don't have a +3, get a +1. For the rings, I'm using 2 bone rings, one with life, minion damage, chaos res, increased attack and cast speed, because like I said earlier, it benefits us, the attack speed, and poison duration, which does not matter, it is just there because I slammed hunter influence. The other one is again a bone ring with minion damage, life, non-channeling because mana cost is a bitch, chaos res in aspect of the spider. Now, for the gloves, this is kind of important, so pay attention. 60% increased damage while leeching is important because we are always leeching. The way leech works, leech stops when you fill up your HP. Because I'm using petrified blood, right, which says right there, life recovery other than flask cannot recover life above low life. Okay? So I am always on low life. And every time I leech damage, because I have lightning damage leech as life, plus on the tree and stuff like that, it will continuously leech. As long as I do damage, I leech life, meaning I get the benefit of increased damage while leeching 100% of the time. That is why the fracture base is really important. It's probably the best in slot. The way you craft this is you spam essences for chaos res or life until you get chaos res, life regen, and I don't really need the cold res here, but it's nice to have for altars, right? If you do like minus cold res altars, it's nice to have to not dip below 90%. So yeah, those are the gloves. And for the boots, I am using a hunter pair of boots with life, movement speed, life regen, and chaos res. The additional, the pierce does not matter. I think it's actually a detriment to the build. But yeah, you don't want the pierce. I just got it there because I hunter slammed it for Bound by Destiny. Maybe I'll try to annul it, we'll see. But the main thing you want on the boots is movement speed, life regen, and chaos res. Mage blood for quality of life. I'm using a Progenesis, like a sapphire flask with life regen, diamond flask with armor, crit chance on the granite, and my game froze. Hold up. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. My game decided to crash. And the last flask is Quicksilver with avoid being stunned. Alright, so that's the gear. Let's talk about the gems. I'm using Tempest Shield with Arrogance to reserve life. I'm just using Arc here to swap quickly between Shock Nova and Arc while mapping and doing Pinnacle content. In the helmet, I have my Empower, Meat Shield, Minion Life, and Raise Spectre. Convocation, Automation, and Molten Shell on the shield. Lancing Steel of Spraying, Awaken Cast on Crit, Crack Lance, Shock Nova, Increase Critical Damage, and Empower again. Arctic Armor, Petrify Blood, Enlighten, and Purity of Ice. Assassin's Mark, Mark on Hit, Righteous Fire, and Flame Dash. So those are my gems. Okay, let's go into the tree and talk about the tree itself. So over here, like I said, I have Watcher's Eye with Fire and Lightning taken as cold. I have a Sublime Vision with Fire and Lightning taken as cold. I have Bound by Destiny with +3 max Chaos Resin, cooldown recovery, Shaper, and Hunter items. I have this Glorious Vanity with Zebakwa for Divine Flesh. Also, this gives me block here, gives me minion damage, which benefits us. Also, the minion life for the Spectres is good. And that's about it. You get a little bit here like minion damage, max life, energy shield, area damage. Power speed doesn't matter, damage over time, fire res doesn't matter. But yeah, those are the main things that you want. I am getting another 15 max shock here. And I am taking this 100% increased charge duration for ideally when I have the Mercenary that gives me endurance charges, which I don't have yet. I'm using a large cluster with Doryani's Lesson, Overshock, and Thunderstruck. So Doryani's Lesson gives us more leech, elemental damage leeched. Overshock gives you lightning damage and 40% increase of lightning elements. And Thunderstruck is good because it gives you increased crit and lightning damage plus a little bit of knockback, which is nice if you're doing like a Rogue Exile farm or something like that. Over here, I got a massive Thread of Hope with Corrupted Blood, so I get all these good nodes like Tireless, Sanctuary, Combat Stamina, Sanctity, Retribution, Spiritual Command, and Purity of Flesh. Plus Glancing Blows as the keystone. Typical Assassin crit build. Crit, power charges, all that good stuff. Yeah, so that's the tree. I am using 2 rune crafts, which gives you 50% increased reservation efficiency of skills to fit in aspect of the spider. Without this, I wasn't able to fit it in. Now I am. And 20% chance for skills to not consume a cooldown. That is good for, again, Uber bosses and Pinnacle stuff. To just smack them harder with Crack Lance and Shock Nova. Okay. So, about the Spectres. The Spectres that I'm using is Perfect Spirit of Fortune, which gives us lightning damages, Lucky, and Wrath. We are using a Perfect Warlord. Perfect Forest Warrior, which gives us Onslaught. I'm using a Perfect... Wait. I have them written down. Wait. Okay, Perfect Pain Artist, the little guy over there, that guy, that gives us Zealotry. And also gives us crit multi and crit chance for the spells. And Perfect Judgmental Spirit, which gives us Discipline. It's the temple thing, the labyrinth thing, goddess thingy over there, that one, the big one. That one's giving us Discipline and Energy Shield Recharge Rate. They're all gonna be in the configuration file in POE. Alright, let's talk about the Mercenary. Mercenary, Doryani's, classic. What did you expect? Kingmaker, really good. Shaper Seed with Determination, Aura Effect, and Influence. I crafted this, which is really good. It went on the first try. 45 Area and Chaos Res minus 133 Lightning Res. But this bugs out every damn time. It's so annoying. Look at that. So annoying. So make sure every time you log in to re-equip the ring so it doesn't bug out. String of Servitude will max roll increased Determination Aura Effect. Boots with resistances and life and armor. Nothing too fancy. I am using this helmet over here with the nearby enemies take 6% increased elemental damage with more resistances, so it caps out. And Hand of Heresy, which excommunicates enemies on melee hit for 3 seconds. Excommunicated enemies cannot deal chaos damage. This is good for like different bosses, like in Simulacrum or whatever, the one that does chaos damage. So it doesn't do chaos damage to you. Plus, having it on an Earthquake Merc, because it has an AoE, it really does hit quite a few enemies. If you're farming exiles, then they won't be able to do chaos damage. If they do, and so on and so forth. So more like a defensive thing over there. So yeah, that's the build. I hope you guys find it interesting. Again, thanks to Koten for the showcase and what led to all of this. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, as always, POB will be in the description. Feel free to comment and ask any questions that you may have. I'll try to answer each and every one of you. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. Until next time, take care and stay safe.